Have you ever walked away from a conversation, said nothing, and then spent the next hour mentally destroying the other person's argument? You had the perfect comeback, the flawless logic, the evidence, the confidence. But in the moment, you stayed quiet, and now you're standing in the shower, winning a debate that already ended 3 hours ago. If that sounds familiar, I want you to stop and hear this clearly. There is nothing wrong with you. In fact, psychology suggests that this pattern, this gap between what you think and what you say, is often a sign of something much deeper and much more valuable than most people realize. Today, we're going to explore why you win arguments in your mind but stay silent in real life, and why that might actually say something powerful about who you are. Let's get into it. Number 1. Your brain is protecting you from something real. When we're in a heated conversation, our nervous system doesn't always know the difference between a social threat and a physical one. Psychology shows that conflict activates the same stress response as danger. Your heart rate increases, your thoughts fragment, your access to complex reasoning temporarily narrows. So when you go quiet, it's not weakness. It's your brain doing exactly what it was designed to do, to keep you safe. The eloquent argument you construct afterward happens in a calm, regulated state, when your prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for logic and language, is fully online again. Think of it this way. You're not bad at arguing. You're just better at thinking when you're not under fire. And honestly, that's a kind of emotional intelligence most people never develop. Number 2, you think in depth, not in speed. Research in cognitive psychology indicates that people who process information more deeply often take longer to respond. This is sometimes called deep processing, and it's linked to greater accuracy, better memory, and more nuanced thinking. The person who fires back instantly isn't necessarily smarter. They're just more comfortable with surface-level responses. You, on the other hand, are running through implications, considering the other person's perspective, weighing your words. That takes time. More time than a live conversation usually allows. So your mind wins the argument later, because later is when your thinking actually gets to finish. The replay in your head is an obsession. It's your natural processing speed finally getting the space it needs. Number 3, you care about connection more than victory. Here's something psychology consistently finds. People with higher empathy are often more reluctant to engage in open conflict. Not because they don't have opinions, but because they're simultaneously aware of how their words will land on the other person. While you're forming your argument, you're also imagining the hurt it might cause, the relationship it might damage, the way the other person will feel. That internal negotiation slows you down in ways that someone less attuned to others simply doesn't experience. This is not a flaw. This is relational intelligence. The fact that you can win the argument but choose the relationship instead, even unconsciously, is a form of maturity that takes some people a lifetime to reach, if they reach it at all. Number 4, you have a deep fear of being misunderstood. For many people who go silent in conflict, the real fear isn't losing the argument. It's saying something imperfectly and being judged for it. Psychology shows that individuals with a strong need for self-coherence, meaning people who care deeply about how their inner world matches how they're perceived, often freeze when they sense the gap between what they feel and what they can articulate in real time. You have something important to say. You know it. But you also know that if it comes out wrong, or if the other person twists it, or if you stumble over the words, it won't represent what you actually mean. And that feels worse than saying nothing. So you wait. And in the quiet of your own mind, you find exactly the words you wish you'd had. The argument becomes clear, clean, and true. Because in your own head, no one can interrupt you, misread you, or dismiss you before you're finished. Number 5, silence is sometimes your most intentional choice. Not every quiet moment is avoidance. Research in social psychology suggests that people who are more reflective tend to engage in what's called strategic withdrawal, consciously choosing not to escalate a conflict because they can already see how it ends. You've run the scenario. You know that even if you say the perfect thing, this particular person in this particular moment isn't ready to hear it, so you don't. Not because you can't, because you've already decided it isn't worth it. That's not losing. That's wisdom with restraint. Some of the most powerful people in any room are the ones who know exactly when to speak and when to let the silence do the work. Number 6. Your internal world is extraordinarily rich. Psychology has long noted that introverted and highly sensitive individuals tend to have a more vivid and active inner life than their external behavior suggests. The mental argument you're having isn't just about winning, it's about understanding. You're processing the conversation, analyzing the other person's motives, refining your own position, and often arriving at a truth that's more complete than anything you could have said in the heat of the moment. This inner richness is a gift. Writers, philosophers, therapists, and deep thinkers throughout history have often described this same experience. The conversation that becomes clear only in reflection. The insight that arrives in the silence after the storm. You're not behind. You're processing at a different depth. So here's what I want you to take away from this. The gap between what you think and what you say is not a sign of cowardice or inadequacy or social failure. It is, in many cases, the signature of a thoughtful, empathetic, deeply processing mind, navigating a world that tends to reward whoever speaks first and loudest. You are not losing arguments. You are having them in the one place where they can be held with the care and complexity they deserve. Now, does this mean you should stay silent forever? Of course not. There will be moments when your voice needs to enter the room, when speaking up matters more than comfort. And the more you understand why you go quiet, the more agency you have over when to change that. But start by giving yourself this, the recognition that silence is not always absence. Sometimes it is the fullest presence of a mind that refuses to be rushed. If this resonated with you, if you recognize yourself somewhere in these words, I'd love for you to subscribe. Every week, we explore the quiet patterns that shape who you are, and we do it without judgment, without labels, and without telling you that you need to be fixed, because you don't. You just need to be understood. See you in the next one.